Side Scroll is brought to you by you. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/sidescrollers. It's time for Side Scrollers on YouTube.com with me, Stuttering Craig. I like movies that have sand in them. Wow.
He doesn't like it in his mouth.
And producer extraordinaire, Travis Key.
I don't like the texture in my mouth.
What? And brought to you by you, the G2 community at patreon.com/sidescrollers. And now, broadcasting from our homes, it's time for the #1 gaming and entertainment podcast on planet Earth. It's time for Side Scrollers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, welcome on out to Side Scrollers on YouTube.com, Rumble.com, and Twitch.tv. What's going on, everybody? Hi. Stuttering Craig. Welcome to the #1 and most important daily video game podcast on planet Earth with Side Scrollers. Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Happy Monday, Tuesday to you. Yes, it is Tuesday. It's National Video Game Day, as X has told us that we got a lot to talk about. This is a video game and entertainment podcast, so I got some video game and entertainment people on the show today, which is great. As always, let's introduce our friend, our producer extraordinaire. It's Travis Keys. Hello, Travis. How are you?
Good morning. It's a great day.
It is
going to be a fun day.
Yeah, man. Happy Video Game National Day to you thing.
I was going to say, do you say congratulations? Do you say what do you say?
Well, let's find out. Hey, ColtEastwood, congratulations, Video Game Day.
I mean, this is what I've been born for. I've been playing games far too long before I can even remember. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone. National Video Game, and it should be International Video Game Day.
That's right. I don't know why all us stupid Americans get to have all the fun.
Right. We have Donut Day. Let's give everybody Video Game Day.
Do we actually have Donut Day?
I think we do. Yeah, many times a year, probably.
There is
International Donut Day.
Well, it's National Video Game Day. Hey, Bill, happy Video Game Day.
So should this not be a national holiday? Should we not have the day off to play video games? Is that not how it works?
Show's over. No, I'm just kidding. Here we go. All right, there we go. Hi, Bill. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on once again.
Yeah, man. Glad you're here. Colt, it's your first time. Glad you were able to hop on, man. Real short notice.
Oh, it does. No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for sending out the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Stoked, man. I'm fan of you guys. Colt, tell everybody where they can find you real quick before we get into all the good stuff we have going on today.
Yeah, you can find me at ColtEastwood, one word, ColtEastwood at X, Twitter, and YouTube mostly. It's where I live. It's kind of a sad state of affairs sometimes.
On the internet. There
Yep.
it is. It seems like you're real big on the Xbox world, huh?
Yeah. I just kind of cover a lot of that stuff. And it's kind of been the niche, I suppose. But I enjoy it. It's been fun. Talking about the underdog is how I feel about it sometimes, but it's been fun.
Yes, the multi-global national underdog.
The world dominating monopoly with the most money, but number 3 in sales. Yeah, we have fun.
I just got an Xbox for the first time last year. The newest Xbox, just strictly to play Flight Simulator. Man, that game is amazing.
Game's beautiful.
I love it.
Here's mine. Hold on, I got it over here. You can see it's been hooked up for a while. It's just kind of hanging out in the back corner. Look,
my god!
You can actually see the dust on it right here. This isn't even. This is an Xbox. Colt? What is this one?
That's the Xbox One from 2013.
Oh, see, there you go.
I couldn't even sell that thing when I was done with it.
That's a VCR from 1986.
The problem with that, Colt, is neither could they.
Right.
Bill, what about you, man? Where can everybody find you? You listen. If Colt's cornered the Xbox market, you certainly, friend, have cornered the retro gaming market.
Maybe a little bit, teeny bit back in the day. But yeah, we're the Game Chasers. Going around looking for old retro games at dusty flea markets and garage sales, and fart on camera and gripe and complain the whole time. And yeah, we've been doing it for like 10 years at this point. Well, actually 11 years, 12 years. It's starting to get pretty crazy how long we've actually been doing this. I look back and I'm like, my God, that thing that I thought was 2 years ago has actually been 8. That's insane.
Welcome to life.
Yeah.
There it is right there. Well, look, we're going to have a good show today, man. I am excited. It is National Video Game Today. I expect all sorts of celebration in the chat as we all jump for joy on this momentous occasion that happens only once a year. If you're outside of America, go fuck off. This is only an American holiday. You're in Canada, Mexico, anywhere else, get out of here. It's ridiculous. But look, we're going to be talking about a potential. Listen, this is big news. Colt, I don't know. There's this thing called the Switch. Have you heard of this thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually saw this just before you start up the show.
Okay.
This latest thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Hot.
Big news. Big news. We're going to be talking about a potential Switch 2 rumor, which there's been a million of them, but we're going to get into it anyways. The Mortal Kombat 1 launch trailer just dropped. We're going to be watching that and reacting to it all the way up to the point where we will get demonetized on YouTube because fatalities and blood and stuff. So we can't show all that fun stuff, which is really dumb. YouTube may be getting into games, which is insane to think about, but maybe play some games in your browser. Kind of like the old, I don't know if you guys remember this from back in the day. There was a thing called Gaikai. Remember Gaikai from back in the day? Anybody remember this? Colt, you remember that?
Yeah, that was the streaming servers for the PlayStation 3. Was what it became.
Yes.
But I don't know a lot about where it started, but this is back 2015. It was pushed over to PlayStation through acquisition, and it became their backward compatibility behind a paywall.
Didn't Nintendo or Sega have a streaming service for games? I thought way back in the day too.
You could play games on your. There was a Sega channel.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and you could. That was like the first run of it, but I mean that was a totally different internet. But yeah,
dial up.
Yeah, good old dial up, man. It is awesome. So we got that. But the bigger conversation today, we're going to talk a little bit about Starfield. Colt's a big Starfield guy. And we're also going to talk about video game culture as a whole and how much it's changed, because we've been doing this for a while. And here on National Video Game Day, is that right? National Video Game Day? We're going to celebrate and talk about how games media and culture has shifted over the last forever. And, I got some talking points on that. So I want to remind you guys, if you guys are tuning in for the first time, hit the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate that. We're growing just a little bit more every single day. Like a weed, hit the like button, because we want to hit our goal of 300 likes every single episode. See if we can do that. I greatly appreciate that. Follow us over on Rumble at rumble.com/sidescrollers, as we are organically growing over there, just shy of 3,000 followers. Why do we like that? All organic. It's all organic over there, which has been great. And of course, we have our membership goal every episode of 20 members here per show. Let's see if we can hit that today. We're on a nice little streak of 3 straight shows hitting that. Greatly appreciate if y'all support as we keep going, as we have this fun daily show every morning at 11 a.m. Central Time. One quick reminder, this Thursday we'll be doing a one-on-one interview with Razor Fist, which should be pretty interesting. So go back and put that on your calendar for this Thursday at 11 a.m. So
before we get started, do you
Yes,
want to know what International Day it is? I had to look it up because I was curious.
it better be video game day.
It's something very stupid.
Okay.
It's
Let's take some guesses. Colt.
Okay. You'll never guess, but
It's International Open Toe Shoe Day.
Let's
My
go.
clothes.
Let's go. Bill?
Oh man, International Baked Potato Day.
closer.
Yeah, you should have before you ask Craig, you got to give him like some type of hint.
Yeah.
It's probably a food item.
Like a category hint.
Directions, like north, south, east, or west. Put it that way.
It's International Up Day.
No, it's United Nations Day for South cooperation. What that means, I don't fucking know. But
How's that closer to a potato?
because I don't know.
I thought you must have had it with the food
potatoes.
thing.
I don't know.
That's where my mind was. I was like, oh, it has to be something food related, right?
Golly, it's ridiculous. Golly.
Well, they knew they made it something stupid because they knew everybody was just going to be into the video games today. So like, hey, why bother? Why bother?
I thought it was going to be International Up Dog Day.
You're not going to get me.
Let's see if I get Travis with that one. I heard up and somewhere dog, and then whatever.
I've watched The Office through about.
Was that on The Office?
Yes.
Oh, I heard it on the radio one day. All right. Anyways, what's up, dog? All right, let's get on this thing. Jerry Crow started us off today with the £5 super chat. It says, "Oi, Colt." I guess that's how you say it. Oi. Is that white LP on the right an Epiphone or a Gibson? Let's find out.
It is an Epiphone, which is actually better than the current Gibsons. So I really enjoy it. Yeah. It's a great guitar.
Big music guy?
Yeah. I've dabbled in cover bands and stuff on my off time. I do not sleep ever. But yeah, it's fun stuff.
Nice. That's amazing. And that's awesome. I do a music appreciation stream every Thursday over on Rumble where we just stop and we listen to music. It's like friends getting together and listen to a record back in the day.
Yeah, nice.
Super fun. So if you want to come on and join us one day, that'd be great. So,
all right.
They don't have the copyright stuff over there on Rumble. You can get away with that.
I'm getting away with it for as long as I possibly can until I get slapped on the wrist.
That's interesting. I need to go check out Rumble.
Rumble is it's like the old internet. It's very much what it is. It's like the internet a decade ago. So
if you know how to deal with trolls, you're good.
Cool.
Lucario Stormblade came in with the $10 direct donation. It says, "Hey Craig, for the record, National Donut Day is June 3rd. Leave it to the fat kid to know that info." Thanks, Lucario. Sorry about that. Keep working out, buddy. Shamsa came in. Listen to this for a $100 direct donation. That's insane, Shamsa. Thank you so much. Says, "I'm gonna fuck off soon, but wanted to tell you this. While I like their channels, I've DM'd you what I think." Okay, Shamsa, sounds good.
I'm missing one of my balls.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Travis. Let everybody know what happens when we get a $50 donation because Colt is absolutely clueless. Just balls.
Yeah, I think my dog took it.
Okay. Bill over here just staring into the abyss going, "What is happening on this show? I don't even understand." Colt's like, "What is this? I'm 13 minutes in. I'm ready to get off."
I'm ready.
Oh, no. I love train wrecks. I want to be a part of it.
Side scrollers, the daily train wreck. That's what we're going. There's our tagline. The daily train wreck. Let's get into it. It's time for my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everybody in the world's favorite segment. It's time for Hard News. Here's an intro.
Hard News.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Paul. Here we are. Let's get into it. The big news today, the big rumor is that the Switch 2, the successor to the Switch, gentlemen, was running at the most recent Gamescom over in Germany, and it was running Zelda Breath of the Wild at a blistering 4K 60 frames per second with minimal load times. Ugh!
What?
Does that excite you, gentlemen?
Well, I'm going to have to change my underwear.
Really?
Yeah, that was quick. No, that's pretty insane. Usually Nintendo's the ones that lags behind in the whole, processing power, hardware power. Man, that's insane to think that that's doing that. Now, this is a rumor, obviously, but
this is a rumor. This is a rumor coming from a guy who has a pretty good track record behind it. So it's this guy named Nate the Hate, and he is he's as pointed out here, a prominent insider. He says the leaker has reiterated that a souped-up version of Breath of the Wild was indeed showcased. By the way, this is Breath of the Wild, not Tears of the Kingdom, by the way. This is Breath of the Wild. This is the previous version of Zelda. Alongside Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, The Matrix Awakens. This is where the former is concerned. The open world title was allegedly running at 4K 60 frames per second, though apparently the main purpose of the Zelda demo in particular was to showcase the Switch 2's significant improved load times. As per Nate the Hate, while it can take roughly 30 seconds to load and save in a game from the Switch's home menu, the Switch 2's tech-boosted near instant loading, exhibiting a drastic improvement. So, Colt, what are your thoughts on this, man? As a dude looking in from the outside, you got this mega beast. You're playing games on your PC. You're playing games on your Xbox. You're going back and forth, and then you hear, "Oh, that's cute." What are your thoughts?
Yeah, at first it is, oh, that's cute. I mean, I've heard these rumors before in the vein of the last Switch. Like when the first Switch was coming out, there was a supposed 4K ultra powered dock that you could buy to power up your current Switch 5-6 years ago. Nate the Hate has a track record of rarely ever being off or wrong about his leaked information. I'm not a big Switch guy. We do have 2 of them in the house, but having a Switch that's on par with the consoles, the conventional consoles, is a really good idea, because the biggest thing for Nintendo doesn't need to do anything or change anything. But if you have a powerful Switch 2, which we have to talk about what they'll actually call it, that'd be a fun conversation. But if you have a powerful Switch 2 and all these other big mainstream developers can say, oh, we can now put our games on Switch, which is part of what we're hearing with this Xbox, like the legal battle they're going on. They want to put Activision Blizzard games in there. If the Switch 2 is powerful, then everybody can dump their games on there. And why would you ever need anything else? Like, you have the Switch, it's portable, it plays all the great Nintendo titles, it gets a bunch of the mainstream games that Switch or Nintendo didn't get before. Like, this is going to be so big for Nintendo that doesn't need to be any bigger. They're already doing phenomenal. That's how I feel about the Switch 2.
Bill?
Yeah, I mean, that's you literally just said it all. I mean, think about Nintendo would rule the video game market again, I think. I mean, obviously you're still going to have the fanboys on the PlayStation and Xbox side that would never switch over, and that's fine. But I mean, I was really never, when the first Switch was, announced, I was never really kind of got into the idea of, like, I wanted something portable. It didn't appeal to me until I got a Switch. And then I was like, man, this is actually pretty damn convenient. And now if there's a game that will play on the Switch, mainly just like retro inspired stuff, I will always get in the Switch so I can go portable with it. And so I fell in love with the Switch, and honestly, it's 90% of what I play now is on the actual Switch. It's just too convenient. I really hope that this Switch 2 is still in I mean, it would have to be portable. I mean, why would Nintendo go away from that? My only question is backwards compatibility. Is it going to still use, is it still going to have the SD card slot to be able to play, the old Switch games? That's my main concern. Hopefully, yes. But I'm wondering, like, the load times that they were talking about, I wonder if that was from an SD card, or was it from just playing it on the actual hard drive of the Switch itself, and if that made a difference.
I have a question and an idea. So what if they call it the swap in Switch and Swap, you see, and they just upgrade the handheld part and put a better chip in it, make it faster, and that way you can swap it out with your Switch and then put it into the deck of the original Switch and just have the upgrade be in the handheld part of it. You could sell it for less money and probably sell a lot more units. You'd sell one to everybody who owns a Switch.
So here's the thing about that. The idea of selling more. The Switch is already like a top 2 or 3 sold console all time. I think behind like the PlayStation 2 or something, like it's up there. So as far as selling more, I don't know. I think they do this exact same thing again, just make it more powerful. That's it. Just do the exact same thing. The idea of it not being something. I mean, they changed the game when you said, "Hey, you can play this on your home console, or you can play this on your TV, or you can play it on the road." Because, and make no bones about it, this is the idea of including third-party anything on this is almost laughable, right? Because the Switch is seen just from a power perspective. It doesn't add up to anything. But this, and we've talked about this many, many times, this plays Nintendo games. It doesn't care about anything else. When you look at the top 50 games sold for the Switch, they're 49, not kidding, 49 out of the top 50 games are Nintendo IPs. So that's really all they're cared about. The idea of like, oh, Call of Duty is going to be on Nintendo Switch. Who the hell cares, right? That's a Microsoft and a Sony problem. Like, right. I downloaded Apex Legends. I love Apex. I downloaded Apex on this. I couldn't play it at all. I was like, what is happening? It was not a good experience. And I think you use the Switch or the Switch 2 for one thing, Nintendo games, and you use your Xbox or your PlayStation for your hardcore games. And I don't know. I think that's very much how the market has shifted over the past probably 10 years or so.
Well, I think if they do a more powerful version, you're always going to, I mean, they obviously they're still going to have the Nintendo people. That's a given. They got them for life. But you get those people that are on the fence. Man, should I get a Switch or should I get this other system that I can play, Call of Duty on? You're going to get those people that are on the fence potentially moving over to a Switch if you can get something powerful enough that plays the third-party games like Call of Duty and things like that at the exact same quality.
Yeah, I think Nintendo very rarely does things wrong, like Colt said, but I think they've been using mobile chips in the handheld part of the Switch, where if they use the chips and say the Intel NUCs, the Skull Canyon NUCs that are passively cooled as well, they could get a whole lot more performance out of them.
So it was, I was looking at the release of, Breath of the Wild and when it was actually released. This game is 7 years old, and I would like to think that over the last 7 years, you've been able to come up with technology that will better load times from 30 seconds down to instantaneous. I mean, with the way, I mean, you would like to think that's a natural thing. So load times for me, I know this sounds kind of silly, but load times for me, unless they're like egregious, I don't really care. If they're 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it is what it is. I think that's just where it's just something that you deal with when you play modern video games now. And
sometimes it just lets you get up to get a snack or a drink.
There you go. Look at the bright side, Bill. I love it. I love it. Hey, Pest came in with the 199. Says, Billy, can't wait for Retropalooza, brother.
Good. Nice. Yeah, be sure to come by and say hi at the booth.
When is it?
This weekend.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. Retropalooza is at the Arlington Convention Center, Arlington, Texas, this weekend. So yeah, if you guys are in the area and want to stop by, come by. I'll have a booth. And I
am in the area.
You are in the area.
I do want to come by.
You won't. No nuts.
What are you talking about? I would love to come by.
Come by. Do it.
Is it Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going to show you my balls. I'm going to get over there. All right.
Please. I know Manscaped is a sponsor of mine. So,
oh, yeah?
I'm not going to go there.
You have sponsors? What is that? Jonathan Davis came in with the 3 months. Thank you so much, Jonathan Davis. Really appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate all your support. And Napoleon Bonaparte became a patron. Thanks, Napoleon. Appreciate that. Sorry about your little man syndrome. Durgurk came in with a Prime membership over on Twitch. Says, I hope Nintendo didn't navigate themselves into a dead end with the Switch. I think they opened up all sorts of possibilities for themselves personally. I think I don't know. I'm on the other side of like where Colt stands. Colt's like, I don't really care about Nintendo, but like Nintendo's like the only thing that I really care about. I don't know, I'm a big old Nintendo dork. So
I'm with you. When you held up that Switch and you said this is perfect, I'm like, exactly. Like this is I started getting worried when like the time frame for this system kind of has starting to run its course. I'm like, man, they're going to come up with something new. It's going to be maybe vastly different. And I like my Switch. I just wanted to go on for another 7 years. Yeah.
Colt, what are your thoughts on obviously Steam Deck has come in and they're kind of taking over that handheld PC market real quick. And apparently that's a really great product. Like Adam, who's on our show, he's He loves it. He talks about how great the Steam Deck is, and you hear like just constant good things. Does that worry you as an Xbox fan?
No, I mean, I'm not just an Xbox console fan. It's more nuanced than that. I mean, the Steam Deck is kind of getting this shadow pulled over it from the ROG Ally, which people are saying is even a better experience. And then you've got I forgot who the other handheld company. There's another handheld coming out. I already forgot what it was. Anyway, there's going to be this resurgence of handhelds. So if Nintendo Switch 2, whatever they call it, is a capable, I mean, I know we could say who cares if these third-party games, it's just extra money for those publishers and developers and Nintendo if those come on there. But the concept right now that you can have a viable, playable, capable handheld is bigger than console right now. It is. I think it's going to be more popular than console, and being able to play your games. If you want to play something in your lap, you can. I would like to. When I play the Switch, I like to dock it. I like it up on the TV. I think those games look beautiful. People are like, oh, those Nintendo games, they don't push graphical fidelity. I'm like, I don't care about that. I like something that plays nice, looks nice, then is super fun. So I don't think the Steam Deck will just further supports Nintendo going forward with another handheld.
Well, what would you think the name should be? We've seen naming errors when it comes to Nintendo. Obviously, the Wii U was a disastrous name, but you've also seen really clear marketing with the Super Nintendo as opposed to the Nintendo. I don't know. Any thoughts on names, Bill?
The Super Switch. But I am terrible at naming things. So whatever I went with would fail horribly, but I would say Super Switch. I don't know. To me, it's do you want to have the Switch in there just to let everybody know this is like a continuation of the system, or are you going to confuse people and say, oh, this is just a Switch with some bells and whistles? So I'm not a part of a marketing team.
It's a thin red line. Look at the Wii U. I think you're right.
Yep.
Colt, you were shaking your head, yeah, on Super Switch.
No, yeah, I think that's perfect. That's what Nintendo has done since the 90s. Super Switch, yeah. I mean, a lot of people said Switch Pro, but the convention and the nomenclature for Nintendo has been Super Switch. And I think if you want people to, I like the idea when you guys talk about having some sort of compatibility. I obviously think it'll have that SD card slot in there. Maybe it's a little bit bigger so they can have that and do everything else they want to do in the form factor. But if you can take your old Joy-Cons and slip it slip it, that sounds very, very yeah.
We don't shy away from that. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, if your Joy-Cons are physically compatible with the new Super Switch, that's even better. And I would think the protocol of sliding on controllers, isn't limited. So that could be back and pat. You could use obviously your old Pro controller. If that stuff is all compatible and they just say more powerful, this is the next generation Nintendo Switch, the Super Switch, and all your games work. That's really easy marketing. And then you just wait for the money to just pour in. That's how I see it.
That's if they did that, I would say absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I'm hoping that they do.
It's funny you mentioned that because there was a story that I didn't add today where there was a patent that was put out for the Switch Joy-Cons because they're still having drift issues. And I was like, why would they still be worried about drift issues on the Switch when they're phasing out that console? But if they were to incorporate the Joy-Cons into a Super Switch, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So that's crazy. I love it.
Good. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the chat switch up. I like that too.
Switch up.
I don't. I hate that. I think it's confusing. I think that if you just go Super Switch, it sounds like corny and hunky dory, but you know who understands that? Moms.
Yep.
Moms get it, and moms go, "Oh, so it's a better version of the Switch." Okay.
You can even do a badass throwback to a 90s commercial. Maybe somebody's coming into an arena and they got their Switch, and then all of a sudden it becomes the Super Switch with lightning and blasts and all kinds of awesome badass shit. That'd be cool.
Yep.
Sounds like a 90s commercial though.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, a throwback to a 90s commercial. Yeah.
Dude, the SNES, I'm telling you this right now. This is this is the best commercial in history. Like, and this tells you everything you need to know about a video game in 30 seconds. This commercial right here. This is what you're talking about, Bill. 100%. Check this out.
Mm-hmm. Suddenly, the sky is a little clearer. The water is a little bluer. The road's a little bumpier. The jumps are harder. The level's deeper. The character's smarter. The sound is hotter. The graphics cooler. The secret's darker. The danger's fiercer. The challenge a whole lot tougher. And suddenly, the world's a more exciting place to be. Super Mario World. It comes only as part of the system it was created for. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The next generation from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power. Super power.
Tells you everything. Tells you everything you need to know in 30 seconds. This is better than everything you saw before. And it's super. It's made only for the system it was created for, you know, and I brilliant marketing for back.
Yeah, I think a key phrase in that was this is the next generation. So you should get that into people's mind. The next generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lucario came in with the 5. Lucario, thank you so much. Says, I'm with you, Craig. Just upgrade the Switch. Do not market a whole new console. Let's not forget that Nintendo tried the great console, let's launch a sequel aspect and failed with the Wii and the Wii U. Correct. Also,
but didn't they everything else worked really well when they had all the iterations of the DS and evolved the DS, and those just sold great. As far as I remember, I think all of the DSs and their iterations did really well.
They did.
Am I remembering that properly?
They did. I think that the DS. Let's see. There's the DS. There's the 3DS.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All their handhelds have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my problem was what I wanted to ask you guys is, does Nintendo get dinged if they don't innovate on the new console? That if it's basically just the Super NES of the NES for the Switch, like maybe no one cares. But Nintendo really always tries to push to the next big thing. Are they willing to just do a part 2 of what's really great? I feel like they always try to change the game, and mostly they succeed. Everyone always looks back at the Wii U as like Nintendo doesn't know how to do it. I'm like, to my knowledge of being around video games for 30 or 40 years, is I think the Wii U is one of their few falters in their long history. Correct me, I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think the Wii U was just a precursor to the Switch, what they really wanted to do, and then they just failed miserably at it. Mm-hmm. But no, I think that the biggest complaint for the Switch is just it's not powerful enough. So if they just fix that issue, it's a perfect system, really.
Right.
I go back to this.
Go ahead, Trev. Oh, they'll get all the hardcore gamers, like Craig was saying earlier, and then all they have to do is release a Zelda and a Mario, and they'll get all the Switch buyers. You know what I mean? They could just release their one-offs that everybody will buy the system for after that.
I go back to this list.
Oh, go ahead.
Here's this list. This is the top selling games on the Switch, and I want you to pay attention to the publishers over here and the companies that Nintendo owns and or publishes themselves. Look at all the games, all Nintendo, all Pokemon, all Nintendo. One little Capcom. The 23rd highest game is Monster Hunter Rise. That's done by Capcom. It took 22 games before you get to a third-party publisher, right? And you continue on down, and you go to 33. Okay, here's KO Tecmo right here with once again based off of a Nintendo franchise, right? Minecraft, obviously huge. You know that
still blows my mind that sells so much to this day.
Right. So I think I said 49 of the top 50. I think there it is. It's 29 out of the top 30 Nintendo games are all Nintendo related properties. So it's like, once again, Nintendo's going to Nintendo, and they're going to dominate. I mean, they're going to. And you don't mess with what's working. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it. So, all right, let's move on. But before we do, I want to let you know that NZZ came in as a brand new member. Thank you so much, NZZ. Let's go on our way to our 20 new members today. Extra Zero also came in and says, I barely touched my Steam Deck. Battery life sucks. It gets very hot. It's very bulky. Graphics be damned. I prefer Switch. Thank you, Extra Zero. Appreciate that, buddy. NZZ also came back. Says, the Switch genders. That's funny. I'll see myself out. All right, NZZ, thank you. Extra Zero came in and says, I get pro controllers, but I'm the only one who thinks calling a system upgrade a pro version is a bit pretentious. I don't know. It's not for me. I understand it, but for me, I think when you hear the terms pro and plus, things like that, those mean an elevated product at some point. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't see it pretentious. Maybe a case for lazy, but not pretentious. But even if I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't say elite. Like elite can be pretentious. The elite series, yeah. But
right, Xbox talking, right?
yeah, like I think about like you have the PS4 Pro or Xbox Elite, like that type of naming convention. It really is just catering to like the super hardcores that care about the little details, that put their nose all the way against their screen and say, "Oh, it's so beautiful." But
I got the elite.
This is the only thing in life that could be elite and pro in my life, and this is this. Just let me have it. Yeah.
Extra Zero came in. He says, if it's the Super Switch, it needs a Paul Rudd return. Did you guys know Paul Rudd was in an early Super Nintendo commercial?
Yeah,
back in the
that's
day?
actually the one that I had in mind. He comes into this arena, starts playing the Super Nintendo. Yeah, that's Paul Rudd. Good catch.
Lord Spleech says, they get Paul Rudd to advertise the Super Switch. That would be a pretty good callback for the OGs. Kyle says, tough question, was calling the next gen Game Boy the Game Boy Advanced. Tough question. Was calling the next gen Game Boy the Game Boy Advance back in 01? Super Nintendo Switch needs to be more powerful with more features. 100%. I still think the term advanced implies an upgrade, right? If had they called it the Super Game Boy was already taken, because that was the accessory that you added to the Super Nintendo that gave your Game Boy games color. So they needed another name besides Super Game Boy for the Game Boy Advance. But so Kyle says, was calling the Game Boy Advance confusing? Sorry, typo. Yes, I don't think so. And Hal came back with Nintendo also stopped Mario 35. Such failure, possibly their biggest misstep in the last decade. Stopping Mario 35. Colt, you ever played Mario 35?
Nope, I haven't.
It was the best Mario game in history.
Maybe they're gonna bring it back on the Super Switch.
Listen, don't tease me like that, Trav. Don't tease me like that. That's ridiculous.
I don't understand why they would even take that away.
It was some stupid 35-year, 1-year window thing. They could have monetized the shit out of it. God, they could have done
such a game that they could have charged $1 for random shit and people would have paid for it.
And I would have been like, nom, 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 nom. I would have ate it all up. Colt, so Mario 35 was a Super Mario Brothers old school battle royale game where you compete against 34 other people and you play until you just keep playing continuous Mario levels until everybody dies. And it was the coolest. It was so good. Anyways, quick show of hands. I know we only got Bill for till the top of the hour. So show of hands. We're going to do a quick rundown of if we want to talk about these things. The Mortal Kombat 1 trailer launched. Anybody interested in that? Nope. Okay, sounds good. We probably can really talk about it all. Okay, let's get into our gaming culture talk then. Actually, Colt, you wanted to talk about Starfield for a minute. Let's talk about Starfield first before we get into gaming culture and media.
All right. How do we talk about Starfield and keep people from falling asleep? Because there's been some like controversy and there's been some crying and yelling in the streets. There's been people sharing really cool stuff. I don't know, like if any of that stuff interests you. Like there's people that are making the Halo ship. They're making the Normandy from Mass Effect. Somebody made a giant space station. Like they hijacked a space station and glitched it and brought it in. They're that's that stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen those sort of things, but the game is more creative than it first comes off as when people see reviews. So
okay, how about this? Start with this. Why should I care about the game? Because this was a game I have no interest in Starfield, right? Mm-hmm. Get me interested in Starfield in like 2 sentences.
I can't.
Okay.
No, it's I mean, if you're really super interested in going out in space and seeing different planets, or the concept of if we went out into the interstellar and tried to find a place that is actually habitable, you sort of get that feeling in Starfield. It's not really Skyrim or Fallout in space. It's just an RPG with massive quests and lots of loading screens between that traversal. But I would recommend people also play No Man's Sky, which does space exploration things better than Starfield. But I've got almost 200 hours in it. I can't stop playing it, building my character, unlocking different powers that are hidden behind don't spoil the game for other people. So yeah, it's very, very, very cool. It's a really chill game to get immersed into.
So you can make some chill, positive content out of it. Nice. How is it different than No Man's Sky? Because that's the thing that I don't understand. It seems like it's pretty much the exact same thing.
No Man's Sky does things really well. Like you can take off manually and fly until you break through the atmosphere and you're in space, which is really, really cool. And you can warp to a planet in real time. And then you can fly down at an angle and change your angle as the ground comes up toward you and land in a random place. But there's not a lot to see or do in that game as far as like mainline quests. There's no characters. There's no real story. There's a deep crafting system that is really overwhelming and daunting in No Man's Sky. And some of that is a lot more streamlined in Starfield. So
how about you answer Bad Boy's question here? What does Starfield provide that No Man's Sky doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a huge story. It's got tons of characters to talk to, fleshed out companions, and it's got real combat, like great combat that happens in the moment with lots of enemies. Like No Man's Sky, which I've got 50 hours in, you'll occasionally fight some little critters or little flying robots, but you won't have like your typical first person or third person combat in the game. Like No Man's Sky is really meant to just hang back and just enjoy the atmosphere and the music, but Starfield is just a full-fledged RPG. So yeah,
Hal came in, says it's like No Man's Sky but on rails and in the kiddie section of the theme park. Huh.
So yeah, I was actually looking forward to this. I don't usually get that many AAA games these days, but this was one I was actually looking forward to. But I was under the impression that you could do things in No Man's Sky, and it was supposed to be basically a souped-up version of No Man's Sky, meaning that you could literally just take off and fly through the atmosphere, land on planets manually. And then when I found out that you couldn't do any of that stuff, I kind of lost interest, but I think I'll still check it out at some point.
I think, there's obviously been, you talked about the kind of the discussion around the game. There was a big, we talked about the pronoun thing many times. I think that's obviously a big talking point. We talked about it yesterday on the show. We went in pretty in depth about it. As I think it's been interesting to see kind of the cultural impact. And obviously it's not the first game to feature the personal pronoun thing. It won't be the last game to feature it, but I think obviously I think for a lot of people, there was the, Az's take in his video went super viral. I mean, millions and millions of views. And I think people look at that as a tipping point for them in the culture space. It wasn't necessarily the thing that set him off. It was just the thing that helped push him over the edge to set him off. Right. As he felt like he was bombarded. But I think that, it'll be interesting to see when you look back on Starfield. I don't necessarily think people will really think, like, the hardcore will be like, that was a fun game. And I got to go on all these adventures, but the general consensus of be like, oh, that's the pronoun game.
Really? Yeah.
I think so for the most part.
I mean, I'm a dad and I have kids, and I talk to them about like the way culture has changed. And I ask them, like, at your school, like, is this really a thing? Is there really, because in the entertainment medium and video game medium where I am, I see this representation of genders and pronouns and orientation and things like that, which has become pretty prominent the past 5 or 6 years, at least 4 or 5 years. And so I asked my kids, I'm like, is this a thing? Like when you're in high school, like, are there kids who are like, I go by they, them, or I am transitioning? And they're like, yes, there are quite a few. Now I went to high school in the 90s. There was none of that. None. Right. There was one guy that I went to high school with. He looked like Prince. I always thought he looks just like Prince. And we knew he was gay, but he didn't talk about it. No one talked about it. You just said he probably is. And you just left it alone, because in the 90s, the culture was so different and people were so harsh. But now you fast forward to a generation where my kids, it is totally normal for someone to wear it on their sleeve. And so we're seeing this representation in video games. I do not talk about this on my shows because people will flip out, but there's this representation where there are people who say, you know what, my preferred pronoun, I'll say my pronoun is Colt Eastwood, is he, him, right? But their pronoun may be they, them, or whatever. And they feel like I'm being represented in video games. But I have to wonder how much is over representation. Like if there's a percentage, you know, in Starfield, is there going to be 2 characters out of 40 that say their pronoun, or is it going to be 10? Well, I've played 200 hours in the game. I have yet to run into a character who's like, hey, my preferred pronoun
right.
is they, them. But what's his name?
Heels versus Babyface,
yeah. Az was upset because he ran into that midway through the game. Like he was fine in the intro. The intro says, "What are your preferred pronouns?" Because Az is like, "Well, my preferred pronouns are he, so he, him, so that's what he selected." And then he flew off the handle, and had good fun with it too. Right. And I don't even get mad at the guy. Like he's throwing this tantrum and garnering a lot of attention for it. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but the point of that long lecture is in the world that my kids are in, it's pretty common for people to say, I'm this, I'm that, and this is what I identify as.
Right. It's funny because, I can't confirm this, but we are going to have a guest on Friday that to talk about this more in depth. And I want to confirm that before I announce who it is. But it's funny because the person who won out of the whole thing, this whole Starfield thing, Starfield is going to sell as, they had 6 million players or something. And apparently, by the way, it's like 60-40, 60% bought it, 40% played it on Game Pass, which it's like,
we don't know, but
them.
probably.
Yeah. So really there's, what's 60% of, what's that? 4 million, let's just round it off to 4 million people bought it, right? Okay. 2 million people played it on Game Pass. I'm just rounding off general numbers. But the person who gained the most out of that is Heels versus Babyface. You look at his channel, actually, his channel is blown up and he's gained 14,000 subscribers in the last 30 days, because he said something that obviously resonated with a lot of people, and I think that's the thing. It resonated with a lot of people, and it also pissed a lot of people off, so it was certainly well talked about. So
I think there's it's a complex issue, and I think there are people who were in school using pronouns and all that, but the key word there is preferred pronoun, right? It's when you demand people give you respect and demand they call you something that it then becomes an issue. Nobody owes you anything.
Bill?
I honestly don't care what you want to be called, but just don't get mad at me if you walk in with a beard and then I call you a he. Okay, don't try to make me look like the asshole. That's all I say.
That's another thing. People don't know your preferred pronoun until you tell them.
And so go ahead.
If somebody calls you by the wrong one, just tell them and show them respect, and then they'll show you respect back.
Right. If I was out in a place and I was interacting with somebody and go, hey, this is what I prefer to be called, I'm going to call them that. Like I'm not an asshole or anything. But some people might say I'm an asshole, but I'm going to call you by what you want to be called at. I'm not going to purposely, not do that. But also at the same time, I think a lot of times a lot of people look for the opportunity to be able to go off and get mad and almost as if they want to be called the wrong thing just so they can lash out.
I wonder if any of that actually really happens. I would assume most people are like, oh, actually I go by this. But you may see a video online where someone like flies off the handle and yells at being called the wrong thing. How many times someone said, oh, when's your baby due? And they're like, no, I'm just really fat. That was like a thing. I have a little.
I disagree. I don't think it would have been such an issue. What Ass said, I don't think people would have reacted the way they did if it wasn't such a huge issue. So I think that shows you that people in person would react that way if you did that to them.
Right.
In my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, look, if you grow up and become, at some point you're like, hey, I want to be whatever, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna, but just don't look, especially like teachers. It's not your job to try to convince a kid that he's or she is something else. So just stay out of it and shut the fuck up. That is a thing that should happen. And hold the whole, I'm not gonna. This is what drives me crazy too. Some of these parents who think they're just so progressive, and I hate that term progressive because it's not progress.
Regressive.
Yeah. I'm not going to put a gender on my baby's birth certificate because I'm going to let him or her pick it. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You may, your little small circle may be clapped. Oh, the bravery, but just shut the fuck up, man. And stop indoctrinating your kid into bullshit.
So this actually kind of flows into the conversation about the change in video game culture and media and everything associated with it. Actually, kind of well, which I'm going to transition us that way. As obviously YouTube live streaming, they played a very big role. Nowadays, when we were growing up, even 15 years ago, people you looked up to were in the gaming space. They were on TV, right? They were the people who were on TV, or your favorite writer in a magazine. I remember as a kid, I'd read EGM, and I liked to read the Sushi X reviews he was like the fighting game guy, but later found out that Sushi X was an amalgamation of a bunch of people, right? But there was like the fighting game critique. But I always look forward to person A or person B, whatever it is, that personality. Now things have shifted so much in the video game culture space that people, the celebrities, the people you look up to are regular people who just have either large audiences on YouTube for whatever reason that may be. They're Colt Eastwood, they're Billy from the TheGameChasers. Certainly not me, but they are they're just random people. So, and ultimately, in a situation like that, oftentimes these channels are an amalgamation of not just their thoughts on gaming, but also their thoughts on culture and everything else associated with that, to where personal lives get, you get to know the creator on a personal level. And I use that with quotations. You don't truly know the people that you're watching.
It feels like it.
Right. It feels like it, sure. But it's not like you're going to dinner with them and hanging out, like figuring out how they like their steak.
You can get a general idea, and that's about it.
Right.
Well, I mean, I've watched a lot of content creators, and it can feel like this is kind of colloquial, but it can feel like if someone has a show every Wednesday and you sit down and watch that, it kind of feels like they're sitting in your living room and you're listening to them talk about your favorite thing for an hour and a half. And it's like they kind of come into your home, and I know that at times we feel like the people that we watch, like you said, you feel like you're kind of buddies with them. And sometimes people reach out to me and say, hey, Colt, what's up? They'll talk about, and they kind of feel like they've kind of become a friend in a sort of way because they've been listening to me talk for a while. And like this goes into a whole thing about me watching Stuttering Craig for a long time, where it's weird because it could be like a high school friend that you talk to once in a while, or you have a couple jokes with in passing, and it can feel like that. It really does.
Right. And to be clear, I very much have relationships and I have friends in this community. Right.
You did a video about this like a couple months ago as well.
What did I say? I don't remember.
You were talking about like this. I don't know. You made lots of videos, but you were talking about how somebody reached out to you and they're like, hey, like they're good friends with you, and they were trying to pull like a type of a scam or something, but because they feel like they have this personal relationship with you because they've watched you so long.
Right. But now I've received compliments. I've received critiques, everything highs and lows over the last 18 years, however long it's been since I started doing this, right? It's been doing this for a long time. So, and I've had people say, I thought I knew you, but you're a fraud. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where you stay around long enough to where you become everybody's enemy, you know? And you know, so right now the people watching are, you know, people who have followed me for a long time, or people who are just, you know, rediscovering me for a long time. And this brand, as we, you know, we're just getting started. We're, you know, with this thing, but yeah, the YouTube and live streaming aspect has totally shifted the way, you know, video games are consumed, and culture is the intake of culture. And you know, it is weird to think that like Screw Attack back in the day played a role in that. We had a gentleman on the other day who was saying, like, you know, we shifted culture, and you know, there's a smidgen of truth in there. It wasn't all us by any means, but there has been a trickle down effect of, like, you know, I got I mentioned Evie, and Evie sent me a message talking about how you know, a lot of YouTubers today, they kind of got their start at Screw Attack, and or you know, there's always a 6 degrees of separation, and so that's obviously played a big role in the shifting of, you know, both games media and games culture. But you know, we can talk about that all day long. But it's also shifted in how the marketing aspect of culture in the video game space. Whereas previously, these outlets would have to rely on reaching out to a magazine or a TV outlet, G4, whatever, and they'd have this exclusive, right? The idea of an exclusive doesn't really exist anymore, you know, because these publishers and these companies control the message on their own platforms via YouTube, via live streaming, via Twitter, whatever. And they, you know, so there's so that's been interesting to see how that's shifted over time. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to have the opportunity to say this since I get to be on your show, but rewind back to 2007, and I had a couple kids, had a house, got out of college. I took like this 8 to 10 year sabbatical from gaming for the most part, because I was going to school, I was starting a family, and I was just kind of wasn't into gaming or following it. And this yearning came back for the NES days and all these games I loved. And I started searching for stuff to watch and relive those glory days in 07. And I found GameTrailers.com. I don't even know how I found it, but I was watching 100 Screw Attack videos. I was watching Angry Video Game Nerd. Well, Angry Video Game Nerd was the first one I saw because he was, you know, Simon's Quest and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, such good memories. And I found all this Screw Attack content. And I like the #1, like all that stuff, like this high production, great personalities. And I was watching this stuff on a time when YouTube was new, but nobody was really using it this way. And so I was watching game trailers all the time and watching all your guys' content. And it took me from, I used to love the NES to where is gaming now? And you guys had this presence on a website where all of the video game news, guides, reviews, and everything was all happening on this website, and tons of people are on there. And because of you guys being on that site, I was so ingrained into gaming that I went and bought a console when my second kid was not even a year old. So she lay on the floor next to me. I'm like, you good? Well, I played. And I got into gaming, and just a few years later, I wanted to make content like you guys were making. So I just started working on learning how to do that. I built a PC and figured out how to get the mic and all this stuff working. And I wanted to be able to do that great content where you write your thoughts down, have a good structure for a video. And it's a thanks to the work that you guys have done back then and all the way up into this time, because the culture has changed where now the journalists for gaming aren't as prominent. They aren't as well loved as the content creators who are very well respected in this space on YouTube and Twitch, stuff like that. So that's a massive culture change that I've seen.
Well, I feel like when it's people watching content creators, it's almost like they're watching their peers. They're watching their peers talk about a game as opposed to like a talking head. Because I remember back in the day, we used to watch G4.
Mhm.
You know, G4 before the whole YouTube thing came around, or websites. I was watching a lot of G4, and then started basically getting my gamer news from peers. People doing internet videos, and I actually came across not before Facebook. What was it? It was
MySpace.
MySpace. That's right. And I came across AVGN's Turtles video, and I hadn't really got into watching any YouTube or anything, but so I kind of didn't know this whole area even existed, and I got into that and I watched it. I think I saw the Screw Attack logo, and maybe led to the whole Screw Attack website, and I started watching game trailers, and then just a whole rabbit hole. And I'm like, okay, I can gel with this a lot more. I can, there's not only people my age doing this, but it's also people my age talking about things that I remember back in the day. And so that's where I got into it like pretty heavily. Remember getting in trouble a few times at work when I was supposed to be editing a video and I was watching like Screw Attack videos. Thank you very much, Craig. But but yeah, that literally has led me down the path into where I am right now. So.
Well, I think, and thank you guys for that. I appreciate that. Like, I think what's amazing about that is, as you said, right? We were just dudes, right? Screw Attack was a bunch of people who, it started off as just two guys, eventually became, a group of folks who were just buddies. And as you said, we were just peers. We were 20-something-year-olds, who were just talking about video games the way people talked about video games. It wasn't, there was a little bit of polish, but it wasn't too much polished to where it looked like IGN. It wasn't too much polished where it looked like G4. It was polished just enough to look homemade. Yeah. Because it was homemade, right? All of our assets were made by us. Like when we figured how do I make it? How do I make a number? I don't know. Figure it out. And there wasn't a YouTube to at the time was like, how do I make a transition number in my top 10?
No,
you
there
just
wasn't.
gotta figure it out, right? So yeah, I think that's actually been a giant shift. The YouTuber, Twitch live streamer, peer-to-peer relationship, it's been probably the biggest shift in gaming culture over the time. I will say this, something also that's speaking of like Retropalooza, right? Gaming events have become, and just gaming as a culture, this is something I put out on Twitter. I asked people, what the shift has been. Gaming as a broader hobby has become considerably more acceptable over the last 15 to 20 years, to where previously it was like, oh, this nerd thing, it was this dork thing, and you were kind of shunned, right? It was this thing that wasn't necessarily talked about. I remember when I was a kid, speaking of like the Super Nintendo, I was in 5th grade and I was like, oh my gosh, you got the Super Nintendo. I didn't even believe it, but there was only I was talking to this girl, Melissa Wainscott. Let's go. Melissa in 5th grade, she like had the Super Nintendo. I was like, that's amazing. And I made her bring in an instruction booklet because I just didn't believe that she had the Super Nintendo. But there was only like 3 or 4 of us in a class of 25 that really like were like the nerds, talking about video games. What are you playing? Blah, blah, blah. Whereas now, like, gaming has become such a big part of gaming culture, of culture as a whole, that it's not a nerd thing. It's almost like if you don't play games, you're ostracized. Yeah.
So I know that, like, in my experience through going through middle school and high school and all that stuff, in elementary school and middle school, early middle school, it was not necessarily cool, but like you wanted a friend that play Nintendo. You wanted to go play Nintendo. And then for me, for some reason, it just like there became a little bit of a stigma once you started getting into high school and stuff, where it's like, I'm not going to be doing these, I'm going to be hanging out in school and doing all the things the kids do, like go to dances and football games and all that stuff. I'm going to be going and playing video, Super Nintendo at home. You really started to get this geeky nerd stigma. Now, for me, there were more reasons why I had that stigma than just video games. But that's definitely, yeah, exactly. That's definitely, at least I can't say that's definitely. I don't feel that that's something today that's a thing at all. Like if you're in high school, you're probably, if you go home and play the latest, AAA game, you're not considered a geek. But I don't know. I'm not in high school. I would imagine that that's not exactly the case anymore.
Yeah, as pointed out here, in Sal says the shift happened when gaming out earned Hollywood, right? And that has been a consistent theme over the last few years. And this is actually a really really interesting point here. It says NBA players are now on Twitch. How times have changed, right? And they're on Twitch playing video games. Like people, there's UFC fighters who are known for fighting, but they're also known entirely separately for being Twitch streamers.
Yeah, you got rappers Twitch streaming. You got that football player and his brother. I think his name's Travis as well. Who does
Diggs?
a show? Yeah, they do a show together.
Kelsey.
It's a great show.
The Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to the ability to control their own message and say what they want, right? Like if you think about in this is a parallel between gaming and sports, in that the idea of previously gaming companies would have to go through a traditional media outlet to have their message, ESPN, whatever, their local sports station. Now these athletes, they have their own platform. They have Twitter. They have their own podcast. They can talk about whatever it is they want to talk about in their own voice, without having to have some sort of filter on top of it. And once again, it goes back to the gaming space as well. That's how things have shifted.
I was actually talking about Kelsey, by the
way. Blake came in with a 5. Thank you so much, Blake. Appreciate that. So Screw Attack resonated with me because Craig and Tom sounded authentic, not manufactured. Right. And I think that is that goes for why most people follow whatever content creator they follow online. And going back to the as example, right? Like a lot of people saw what he said as extremely authentic. Hey, I feel that way. Who is this guy? I want to follow him. And so now his channel popped off, right? So,
yeah, and that's you're not going to have that with the big guys, because they have to have a filter on it. It's a corporate filter. They have to have it because we all have to. If you want to live in that environment and represent somebody else who's bigger than you, who's paying your bills, you have to actually have a checklist of things you can and can't do. Whereas people like us, we can just say whatever the hell we want. And, that's for good or worse, for, bad or worse, you're going to, once you take that, once you put that ink in the water, you can't really put it back in. People are going to either hate you or love you at that point, but at least it is authentic and you're not having to put on a mask and be somebody you're not.
Yeah, Dr. Disrespect didn't get a partnership or a sponsorship with Bethesda because of things he said in the past. And, he was pretty cool about it. He was like, it's how it happens. And some things don't work out and you got to be who you're going to be. And I mean, it's unfortunate that's how, and that's the problem with the YouTube platform is like, you speak your mind, you say something you really want to say, and YouTube decides, well, you're not making money on this video. So it can be a really tough platform to be on for sure. And then you got to deal with the sponsorships that don't want to deal with you.
And
it's funny. Your money a different way.
It's funny because now you're dealing. It's almost like you're dealing directly now with the consequences of of maybe say if you were a spokesperson for a bigger site or something, what they would have to deal with. Now you're having to, as an independent YouTuber, content creator, you're having to deal with it specifically because you are your own brand. And so that's definitely part of it. And you gotta sometimes you gotta say, am I gonna say that, or am I gonna just put the sock in my mouth and just shut the fuck up? So it's something you always have to keep in mind.
Isn't this all a symptom of like a cultural issue, social media in general, how creators have gotten and people who watch have gotten so involved with each other because creators now share so much more of their life because they can monetize every part of their life, not just create a content, not just like, a 30-minute video or whatever of what they want it to be. Now they vlog, now they tweet, now they Instagram, now they do this. So now everybody's involved in every little thing they do. So now that's why they feel so close to them, because they know what kind of underwear you're wearing. And you know what I mean? Weird shit,
Yeah.
So let me piggyback on that. I apologize, Bill, but like I know you got to be going here in just a couple minutes.
Actually, I'm the dumbass. I actually have to be somewhere at 1:00 and not 12:30, so I can stay on for
awesome
30 more minutes.
Let's go. All right. Well, we'll see how long we go. I don't think we'll be going to full 30, but it depends. Well, I don't want to stop good conversation. So, but that brings us to social media, right? And you could lump YouTube into it, but obviously X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, the whole thing.
It's always going to be Twitter to me.
Yep.
X. So social media, I remember when, a decade ago, 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, when Twitter started popping off and there was this giant influx. And obviously it was like, this is great because everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice now. And I remember thinking like, should everybody have a voice? Right. And
no,
right. And nowadays, it feels like those who have the smallest voice are the ones who are the loudest, if that makes sense.
I will say everybody should have a voice, but not everybody's voice should be respected. Because I just it's hard for me to say because I want so badly to say not everyone should have a voice, but I don't know. I mean,
Don't you believe in free speech, Bill?
That's what I say. That's what I'm saying. That's like I at the same time, even if somebody has something the stupidest take imaginable, they should still have the right to say it. Unless you're going out there and actually saying like, hey, this is how, this is what I'm going to do to actually put some harm. I don't give examples, obviously, but obviously yelling fire in a crowded theater as the common example of like free speech can be, you can't do certain things. Like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to say that not everyone should have a voice. But I'm certainly not going to listen to every voice because there's some stupid fucking ass takes out there.
Right. And a lot of those stupid fucking ass takes make their way into the gaming space. And they are, all of a sudden, the thing about social media that you see is it takes one of those takes, one of those stupid
and then
fucking ass takes.
Subscribes to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes, and once again, that's pick a side. It doesn't matter. There's stupid fucking ass takes on any and all sides of the spectrum in the world. Right.
But wait, Craig, you only mean far left when you're saying that though. I thought.
Right.
Well, I don't have to listen to the stupid takes, and I notoriously mute hundreds of people. Sometimes hundreds of people a month I will mute because sometimes you'll get someone who just jumps at you or jumps into your lane with an unreasonable opinion or unreasonable take or unreasonable slant or attack. And I'm like, all right. And like if I was in a restaurant, I would go, okay, yeah, go away. And or shut off their voice box if I could. But since you're on social media with the technology, you can just mute the person. And of course you can bring yourself to an echo chamber if you just block everybody and mute everybody. But it's so easy to see somebody that has bad faith, a bad faith take, or just an unreasonable take in the way they're going to say something. I'm like, look, if this person jumped into my lane with a bad take on the most inconsequential thing that I said, or my personal opinion, I don't want to hear from that person ever again because they're probably more than likely almost always an unreasonable person. You can go to someone's profile, look at their last 7 replies, and they're like, angry political reply, angry insult against somebody who's more popular than them, angry insult about something they don't like. And I'm like, okay, I don't have to deal with that person. So when you say these people shouldn't have a voice, thankfully you can kind of make sure they don't have that voice in your ear holes.
Yeah. Well, even if it's somebody you agree with, sometimes they're just too aggressive and talk about shit at 6 a.m. that you don't want to, that you don't want to fucking read about.
Or take what you said and it'll kind of and take it to an extreme of like, well, I wasn't going there with it,
right?
And trust me, you play on the Twitter landscape for long enough, or Facebook, you see some the stupidest of fucking takes, like one of the worst I can ever imagine seeing. I can't even get my head around this, but apparently there was this viral video of a little baby, maybe like 2 years old, who was born deaf, and so they put these gizmos into their ear, and they were hearing sounds for the very first time. A marvel of technology. Congratulations, we can fix kids who have are deaf and were born that way. But unfortunately, some people didn't see it that way. There were people in the comments saying that it was ableist because, well, you didn't ask the baby's permission if they wanted to hear. Maybe, that's a violation. That's ableist. That's ableist. That's ableist. I've never wanted to reach my hand through a computer screen and choke the life out of somebody.
Nobody asked them if they wanted to learn how to walk either.
This is real life. And
nobody asked that baby if it wanted to be born deaf either.
I wish I was making this up. Not only was those comments being made, but there were likes on those comments of like people actually agreeing with it. And I just could not believe what I was seeing. And I'm like, these people, I want to say that they shouldn't have a voice, but honestly, just if you're that stupid, voice your opinion so everybody can see what huge, colossal waste of skins you are.
Yeah. Which leads me to the next elephant in the room, which I'd like to talk about, that nobody's going to say, but I'm going to say it. We've all seen it. There is a tremendous rise of mental health issues in the gaming space from gamers. No one's going to say it, but I'm going to say it. We've all been to the conventions and we've all seen it, right? Yeah. Let's be real about it. Okay. And I think that's great. I think it's excellent that we can provide that there's a hobby that provides an escape for people that have mental health issues. But
I was going to ask, do you think that's just because more people game now? So the more, you know what I'm saying? Since there's, like you said earlier, it's more prevalent in our society as a whole. So it's just more mentally ill people are gaming, or do you think it compounds the issue when mentally ill people can say hateful, hurtful things to anybody they want, and then they're surrounded by people like themselves?
I think that it goes back to the social media aspect of this, to where everybody has a voice. Hey, I'm going to say something. Hey, that baby didn't consent to wanting to hear, right? And then somebody goes, yeah, that makes sense. But you don't know if the person who said that legitimately has mental health issues, because that's the only way that a sane person can look at that and be like, that's really sad that you would think that way. That's really sad that you would approach that way. But they're not thinking right. Like, they're clearly not thinking right. And you can call me ableist, you can call me whatever. But the idea that I'm going to slap that shit to half court, by the way, because that's you're mentally unstable if you're calling me that, right? Straight up.
And parents are supposed to make decisions for their kids.
Right.
Well, this is a crazy thing to share, but like 5 years ago, I got attacked on Twitter for content. I made a video about an Xbox showcase, and immediately this guy jumps into my reply and says Xbox is trash. They're running themselves into the ground. Why do you even bother reporting on this? And I'm like, what the crap? Like, I spent like 5 hours making this video, and this guy jumps in and gatekeeps it. And I said, he said that, and then he had a link to a YouTube video, and usually that's like, this video is going to prove that Xbox sucks, and I didn't even go to it. I just wrote laugh out loud. No one cares. Yeah. No one watches. Okay.
Right.
And a few years ago, I used to be a lot more acerbic. I used to be a lot more, I used to get on the defensive and attack people. Like, hey, now I just mostly ignore them. But I was like, I saw the video link, and I'm like, bro, no one cares. No one watches. Like, no one is going to go watch like this. There's a lot of this, I call it dumpster diving content, where people just hate. They go and just hate on something that someone else is liking. They jump into a lane where someone says, I'm really enjoying this game, or I'm really enjoying this thing, or I'm really enjoying this band. And they jump in there and like, I got to make a video and tell them how much they're wrong about why they like that. And when I wrote,
it's angry people who want to spoil the fun, basically, right?
Yeah. And before I tell you like the big breakthrough of what happened with that, you don't know when someone jumps into your lane and a knee-jerk reaction and comes at you sideways and angry and insulting. You don't know, barring any mental things, you don't know, maybe they're going through a really rough thing. Their girlfriend left them. They hate their job. They're miserable and they're lashing out, or their back is flared out and they're just angry and miserable, and they don't know when they're going to get better. But in this case, as I expose myself for this, this guy who replied to me was autistic, and he had a YouTube channel that wasn't going anywhere, and he was trying to push his YouTube channel in an angry way against my content on my video. And when the other side of the console war found out that I said no one cares, no one watches to an autistic guy, they came at me really hard for a couple weeks. And I said, look, I did not click the video. I don't know who this guy is. He jumped into my lane and insulted my content. And I said, no one cares. And they're like, how could you say that about someone with a disability? And I've learned over the years, you'd never know. It could be somebody with a bad back, could be somebody with a mental disability. I've even had people DM me and said, hey, sorry, Colt, that I said those things. I have autism and I don't know how to properly convey my feelings. And when somebody told me that my comment to you, this is like some other person, right? What came off as kind of harsh. I said, hey, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Because I don't know. I have no idea. Like Craig was saying, some people may feel like we sit in their living room and talk with them with gaming for a couple hours or a 10-minute video, and they feel like they know us, but we don't know them. If somebody comes up to Craig at a gaming convention, is like, hey, Craig, how you doing, man? I love this and that. And you're like, have I met you before? Do I know you? Are you a fan of the work I've done? I don't know. And you kind of have to feel it out. And it's not fun.
Well, as pointed out by Jess, as disability or illness is an excuse to be a prick, right? And you certainly weren't trying to be a prick there. You're just like, look, I don't have time to deal with this shit, right? And
yeah,
but to this person, this is all they were focused on, right? And when you talk about somebody who's on the spectrum, who's autistic, that's a consistent trait with people who are autistic, is they're extremely focused on a certain thing. People say, some of the most successful people in the world are autistic, right? Because they are hyper focused on one thing, and they don't stop until that goal is reached, whatever it may be. It may be playing the trombone, it may be beating a video game, whatever it may be. It may be, in this case, telling you why the Xbox is a piece of shit console or whatever it is, right?
You're 100% right. And modding for you, for how long I've had to deal with a few autistic people, and I realized after about the third one that I have to deal with them a little differently, just because when they're telling me something, I can't say, hey, dude, that doesn't matter. These are the rules. You have to follow the rules, because they want me to understand why they're telling me what they're telling me. And me saying that doesn't matter to them. You know what I mean? So,
right. I think, this goes back to just the idea of everybody has a voice, but the thing that's lost specifically when it comes to Twitter, when it comes to any sort of text format, is you can't feel, you don't know inflection, you don't know social cues. There's all these things that you can't see, and that's what makes Twitter both amazing and a cesspool of shit. So and we've seen that come over into obviously the gaming space as well. So
in terms of just like, obviously what this has no bearing on autism or other mental issues, but in terms of just like so much just simple depression, let's call it simple. I've actually I got diagnosed with it in my early 20s, had to get on medication and all that other stuff. Physiological, it was affecting me at a physiological level, not just I'm sad and stuff. So I'm talking from somebody who has actually been through this. I think we just spend so much time indoors and just don't get out into the sun, don't get out and just outside. And I do think that honestly contributes to a lot of that. Doctor told me that, lack of vitamin D is a huge factor in that.
Jeez.
And that we just don't get out in the sun to get vitamin D. And it's just, I honestly think, if you want my opinion as a non-medical professional, I think people just need to get outdoors. I know this is a gaming, this is a gaming stream, and there's all gamers in here, but I do think we need to get outdoors more often, and that would actually do wonders. And it actually helped me a lot once I started kind of going outside more, and I realized how much I was actually just staying indoors, and just going out and taking a walk and stuff does wonders for a lot of people. And especially, ever since 2020 and this silly idea that you have to stay inside even more just because you're going to get the cooties.
My gosh. Yeah, I think that really railroaded people's lives in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
being stuck inside, told they couldn't go to a restaurant, they couldn't go to movies, couldn't go to a festival or
even
a
park. There are people getting arrested in Australia for going to a fucking park. Like, you have to be. That's just complete madness. And you know, I know
they won't
people
do it again.
We're gonna have a generation of kids with like anxiety and shit because they're gonna have PTSD for being stuck inside for 2 years.
Well, that takes your toll. That takes a toll mentally, and it's not cool.
Well, there's a reason we put people in prison.
Yeah,
there's I mean, and once again, this goes back to social issues, right? Social issues that are only going to be exacerbated by some of the policies that were put in place in different parts of the country and all that. Obviously, down here in Texas, we didn't have to deal with much of that. There was a tiny little bit when people were all scared and being just giant bitches, but.
When it first came along, it's like, oh, what the hell? This is new. And then after that, we were like, just kind of, oh, fuck this.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's, you know, that's something that isn't talked about enough. The mental health aspect of gamers as a whole. I don't feel like there's enough discussion around it. I think that there is a direct correlation between mental health and some of the larger issues that are happening in society. And once again, gaming in culture, you know, it's all, you know, downstream from each other. I don't know. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But it's weird how we kind of circle this back to the idea of that's actually why, Bill, you're important, culture important, why side scrollers is important, because for a lot of people, we are the people that they hang out with on a day-to-day basis. That's literally what side scrollers is meant to be. It's meant to be, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hour hangout where we can talk about things and people can look at this show and be like, yeah, I'm not batshit insane, right? Like, because this is, you know, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5, right? 2 + 2 = 4, right? It's crazy. And we're the people who still say 2 + 2 = 4.
Not if you watch late night talk shows.
Oh, of course not. Right. But you know, that's the idea. But it goes back to why our channels are more important than ever. You know, so I don't know. It's just interesting to see kind of how things were 15, 20 years ago compared to where they are now. And if you think about where they're going to be in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where are they going to be? I don't know.
I was going to ask better or worse. What do you guys think? I hope better. Fucking.
Everything goes in cycles, so we'll see. We'll see. Are we at the top? Are we at the bottom? Who knows?
You know, you never know. You never know. YouTube could just make some really ridiculous changes, and Twitch has had its big ups and peaks, and then they've had where everyone's like, just get rid of them, you know, just sell them off. Somebody go fix it. So you never know. When you ride the YouTube train, you kind of have to like just hold on and do your best, because you never know what's going to, you know, sideline it.
I think YouTube will definitely get worse before it gets better. I think YouTube will clamp down, and which is why I think Rumble is so important. You know, like I said, Rumble is like the internet was a decade ago, as far as your ability to say what you want, you know, without any restrictions. And I think that's super, super important. You know, I'm a big advocate of free speech, and it goes back to, you know, once again, everybody should have that voice. You know, I kind of joked it. Should everybody have that voice? Sure. Right. Now, do I think the way like X is handling all this with the idea of like freedom of speech, not freedom of speech, if not freedom of reach? Now, I think that's bullshit. I think ultimately you should trust your audience with the idea of who can filter out the bullshit. But I also think that people have shown that once again, when you don't have those social cues, that inflection, that is very hard to filter the bullshit.
Since I have a bunch of people who've been on YouTube for many years, let me ask you guys, was Google buying YouTube a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends who you're representing.
I mean, to get paid, it's a good thing, but ultimately, I mean, Google is a giant tech company, and I don't trust giant tech companies.
Right.
I mean, if Google filters out, you know, Google, when you Google something, Google shows you what Google wants to show you.
Right. And once again, you are dealing with the #2 search engine in the world with YouTube. and the number one search engine in the world owns the number 2 search engine in the world, right? Make no mistakes about it. YouTube is not a video platform. It is a data company. That's all Google is built around. It's data, data, data. They want to know anything and everything about you, and they do. Colt, what are your thoughts?
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember back when Google bought them, and I mean, since I make a couple bucks on YouTube, that could be a good thing. But they've just, when you talk about Rumble, they've just have so many restrictions where you can't have more than 3 seconds of a song in the background that is, unhindered, where it just, everything is crossed out and limited. And my content is mostly pretty clean. I don't swear in my videos. So I did videos on Dead Island and Dying Light, and they would just get demonetized because the YouTube reviewers feel like it's too gory. But I can shoot heads off in other games, and some of those restrictions, I think YouTube's still massive. It's not like it's hindering its growth, but it just makes it really difficult to make the content that you really want to make. I really want this song in there,
right?
But people need to be paid for their work,
of course. But it goes back to, once again, we couldn't even show the Mortal Kombat 1 trailer today because this episode would be flagged for violence.
Have you tried it already?
We have shown other Mortal Kombat 1 trailers, and we've been flagged for sensitive content related to the trailers and blood and spines and all that stuff, and it's too real now.
So I don't know how true this is. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I was told like maybe 6 years ago from somebody who's actually a really high I'm not going to put their name out there, but they're really high up on the content created, and they actually have connections who are even higher. And they were told that one of Google's main purposes for even buying YouTube was data collection, specifically for creating AI. So every video uploaded helps train AI. And now with the whole AI stuff, now I'm thinking maybe that was actually true.
Yeah,
but this was told. Yeah,
I think you're right. There were channels that were playing squiggly lines and weird flashes and stuff, and people investigated it, and they asked YouTube, and apparently it was YouTube actually testing the AI that they were using. So you're 100% right. That's what it is.
Wow.
I have no doubt that somebody, probably our Australian friends and the Legion of Memers, will probably take all of our faces and switch them up on this podcast, and Colt will be here, and Bill will be on Trav, and Trav will be on Bill, and that's the way it goes because AI can do that.
Wait until you see the memes today. I saw one of them. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Please link them in the private chat, please, because I don't have them pulled up. So, nice. Look, man, it's obviously a ginormous shift, and it's only going to continue to shift. And will it get better or worse? Like I said, I don't even know. But we haven't even got to the AI aspect of things. We are just on the tip of AI in the gaming space. You're seeing NPCs being able to, the AI NPC world where NPCs are responding with, intelligent artificial intelligence. Is that a double entendre, a double thing? Intelligent AI? I don't know. But or real-time AI. I don't know. I think we have this conversation again in 10 years, and we're just at a tipping point right now.
All our, 20 years from now, our brains are going to be atrophied because we're going to have AI doing all the thinking for us. Not going to have to use our brains anymore. Our IQs are already going down, probably, but they're definitely going to go down once AI kind of takes over. AI takes over.
Our IQs are going down, but we know more than we've ever known ever. We have more knowledge like shoved into our brains from things that we Googled. As a creator and an illustrator, a graphic designer, the AI stuff could be threatening. It's like for my job, I do graphic design and I create things, and AI can do a lot of that. And I even use it in my thumbnails lately where I'll take an image I want to use in my thumbnail, and I need room to put the title on the thumbnail, like, you know, a big bright title, and I'll shift the picture over to the left, and I'll have AI add in the rest on the right, so I have room to put the title. And it's incredibly powerful. And it's just getting started right now. And I think in video games, it'd be really cool if there was an AI supported voice thing where the characters, oh, this is going to make so many people mad, but you voice print the voice actors and then let AI supplement extra dialogue options through things that you could say. Like if you're playing an RPG like Starfield, it'd be great if you could say in your headset, well, who is this one faction? What can you tell me about him? And the AI looks at the program and goes, well, this is it. And then the character tells you. Like it could be so much bigger, but it's really going to take a lot of people's it really will take jobs for sure.
Just like in terms of artists, especially, like it's like why there's no way artists aren't already losing work. It's just not happening. It's just already happening.
Just for reference, Colt, I want to know which one of your thumbnails was used with AI. Just curious. And what program do you use? Because I need to use that.
Yeah, I mean, I was using Midjourney a few months ago. So you had my channel up. If you go to 4 months ago, I have this girl in the Starfield big update. I grabbed that from Midjourney and then I added in the rest on the back. But normally I just use stuff that is existing. But this Xbox Series X2, I did a bunch of processes through Midjourney to find a console that I liked that I think would actually represent what the next one could be. And then I don't know, like this Fallout 76 one, I pushed a picture over to the left and I had AI fill in the rest on the right. So I had room for the logos and everything. That's like supplementary work that I normally did manually. I would go in there with the clone tool. I would go in there and use gradients and transparencies and layer masks, because I've been doing Photoshop work for like 20 years. And some of this stuff will take me an hour, and it could literally take 2 to 3 minutes of a few passes in AI. And concept artists if you're doing a movie or you're making a video game, they commission a concept artist. They say, okay, I want this desert valley that's like quasi, Middle Eastern, but techno cyberpunk. This is the kind of look we're looking for the video game. This concept artist will spend 3 weeks painting in Painter Pro and Photoshop and 3ds Max, and they'll build this amazing concept art, and they'll bring like 5 of them to the table and say, is this what you're looking for the vision of your game? They're like, more like this. Can you rework this? But you can literally write that in Midjourney, that description I said, and set the style and go, okay, this is where we're going. And it only took 10 minutes.
So you heard it here. If you're an aspiring concept artist, time to pick a new career right about now.
Yes, because there is a level of there's people that call themselves AI artists, but you have to have the right eye. You have to have like the vision of like how to describe these things. So a graphic artist or a designer could use a little bit of their skill set to push AI art and use that, but it also translates to a quicker turnaround. Like if you've got a guy named Ryan, who's your concept artist in your studio, who's going to concept all your video game art. And Ryan's like, look, I'm going to start using AI and I'll have the turnaround much faster. Maybe they only need to bring him on part-time, but it's a real thing. And I know as an artist.
With Midjourney, just curious, that's all done through a Discord, right?
Yeah. And I've used a web-based one that is free, that's limited to like a few queries a day, and it still works really well.
I'm intrigued. I've only known Midjourney from afar, so it's all fascinating stuff. And like I said, we're just at the tip of it.
LOL Can says, when do we stop using it and it starts using us? I'm like, I don't know. In 5-10 years, they're going to make their own robots and they're just going to chew us up and use us for fuel. It's coming pretty soon.
Hey, Willing Through Life with Brian. This was actually a redacted message, so I'm not gonna say it, but he came in with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Willing Through Life with Brian. Appreciate that. Let's go and get to some memes. Bill, I know you got to get rolling here. You got an appointment here in 20, so I'm gonna let you bounce, but I want to get to these last couple memes here before we roll. This one from Jonathan Davis.
I only saw 2. So.
Okay, he says, that's just the way game chasing go. What are you doing to me, buddy?
I'm just giving you a massage. I do have strong hands.
Oh, good.
I'm not exactly sure why I need to be shirtless as well.
Oh,
or why you look so angry.
Well, I'm just, I'm putting some muscle into it, right? So I gotta get that angry face in. No, those traps are tight, so I got to put some more muscle into that.
I seem to be very thrilled about what's happening, which is crazy. So
you get the face of like, oh my god, I didn't know you were going to go that hard.
That's amazing or scary.
Then we have definitely weird.
This one from Extra Zero says, surprised Craig and Travis didn't talk about Saj Grower's new sponsor today. They even got Flawed to cameo in the ad. Okay, let's see what we have here. This is exciting. Let's see who our sponsor was today.
Hello, Cinco? Yeah, it happened again.
At Cinco Insurance, we've created a plan specifically for you. It's called Balls Insurance. For a low premium of just under $40 a month, you're guaranteed that every time you're accidentally hitting the balls, you'll receive a check for $300. Nice.
I'm missing one of my balls. Yeah, I think my dog took it.
What was that?
There we go.
Standing on a ladder.
I regret saying shit every fucking day.
That's wonderful. That's very screw attacky back in the day. There's a lot of nut punches that happened in the old school screw attack days, which is now it's called assault.
Was there any serious injuries from them?
No, but there was. I'll tell you, I actually still have jaw issues from when I was slapped by Sam for a joke. He slapped me across the jaw, and I legitimately have jaw issues now still from it. So
did he use the bone here to do it?
He really leaned into.
Oh
it.
wow, okay.
He was getting out some frustration or whatever.
Okay.
So, but Shamsa came in with another $100 direct donation. Shamsa, that is ridiculous. Says, sent you something through Discord, DM. Check how creepy it is. It is a I have it pulled up, and
I found my lost ball. Now it's just a chewed up.
You got a chewed up ball. That's good.
And it's blue.
Love it. It is an AI piece of art. I'm going to look at this separately, Shamsa, I appreciate it. Dude came in with the $1 Rumble rant. It says somebody who doesn't own a Steam Deck. I love it because it has made more games compatible with Linux. Haven't turned back after getting rid of the spyware that is known as Windows. And also followed up, said Nintendo should copy Microsoft with going from the previous gen to current gen. Almost everything, no Kinect, from the Xbone era works on the series consoles. The Super Switch should do the same. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. That is awesome. Well, I'm sorry about your blued and chewed balls there. Thank you, Don Parker, for that line. All right.
Wait, they were chewed and still blue. Interesting.
Yes, indeed. Bill, I know you got to roll, but I want to make sure you tell everybody about Retro Palooza this weekend. Because, by the way, I'm going to DM you because I do definitely want to come out.
Sure.
So,
so if you're in the North Texas area or even anywhere close, you want to drive into the DFW area here at Arlington, Texas, we are going to be doing Retro Palooza, which is a retro gaming convention with all kinds of guests. You can go to the site retropalooza.com for more info. But it's going to be a good time. There you go. Thank you, Craig. So Arlington Convention Center, we've got voice actors, we've got YouTubers, and we'll be there as well.
Excellent. Everyone go on over there and check it out. And while you're doing it, Tim Kitzrow is going to be there. Timmy, nice. Love that. And Boogie's going to be there. Cool.
Boogie's comes pretty much every year.
Nice. Well, sign me up as an unofficial guest.
The many more, when you hit the many more, that does the better guests. It's not just us.
The better
Pat, I think Pat's going to be there.
Do you think, hey, just between us, do you think Pat hates me? Does Pat have an issue with me?
I don't think. The only time you ever came up in a conversation, it wasn't that bad. He was just saying how much he hates your face.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, I appreciate that. That's good to know.
I can relate.
Your personality, he may be totally cool with it. It's just it's your face. But yeah, no, he'll be there. So maybe you can find out.
I would love to. I don't think I've talked to Pat in a long time, but I don't know. For some reason, people say he has like an issue with me. So
no, I in all honesty, I've never heard anything, good or bad.
Jared's going to be there too. Nice. All right. Oh my! You got a great little group of folks. This is excellent.
Well, that's right. Jared's coming. Forgot about that.
Good. Awesome, man. This is going to be good. All right. I also love that you have on your guest list here. You just have that this guy canceled. It's like canceled. He's done. It's like
he said something controversial, so we had to get
Did he?
next. Yeah. No, I don't know.
Oh,
he probably just had something come up.
Okay. Awesome. Obviously, everyone needs to go over and subscribe to the Game Chasers channel as well. You can find the links down below. And while you're at it, man, if you like the Xbox, you need to go and check out this sweet young man's channel, Colt Eastwood, right there. Check that out, right there.
I'm older than you, Craig.
No, you're a sweet young man. We're all sweet young men. It's great stuff. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys popping in. This is super fun. It's good having discussions like this. We can do gaming news all the time, what's amazing is that on national video, or yes, just national, not international, on National Video Game Day, there's just not enough video game news, and that's just a goddamn shame. Ridiculous. But Colt, thank you very much for joining us today. Bill, thank you very much for joining us as well.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. And enjoy your doctor's appointment, Bill.
No. This week it's a haircut.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's wonderful. What's that like? Guys, remember, I'll be live on the Side Scrollers Plays channel in just a little bit. Yesterday I played Apex, but today I'm going old school with it. I'm going to bust out the Switch. This is the Switch Colt, and it's really good.
Oh yeah. No, I got 2 of them. Just need to play on it more.
But yeah, make sure you guys join me over on the Side Scrollers Plays channel over here on YouTube. I'll be live over on Rumble as well at rumble.com/sidescrollers. Have a great day, guys. Remember, people are going to try to keep you down. Don't let them. You guys got a goal. Go get it. Keep that conversation flowing. It's only going to do good things unless it's things you don't want to hear. See you guys.